Wow, skanky. Hello everyone and welcome to day 17 of Terrorthon. Aaahh! Real Monsters. A Nickelodeon cartoon from the 90s which we're going to discuss a little bit today. It's an important part of my childhood and possibly even of yours too. So like I said, Aaahh! Real Monsters aired on Nickelodeon in the 90s. It was a comedy horror show which ran from 1994 to 1997, and it followed the child monsters Ickis, Oblina and Crumb, who were young monsters attending a monster school headed by the terrible headmaster, the Gromble. And at school they were learning to frighten humans, kind of like Monsters Inc. in a way when you think about it, and they were often assigned scares to perform on humans on the surface. The series was set in New York City, and all the monsters lived in the Fresh Kills landfill on Staten Island, and deliciously they used toenails for currency. The series was inspired by the Beatles movie Yellow Submarine, with the Gromble closely resembling the Blue Meanies in that movie, as you can see here. The series was also inspired by the film noir genre of the 30s, 40s and 50s even, with the landfill itself based on the movie Blade Runner, if you can see the resemblance. I don't, but there you go. It was created by Gabor Supo, a Hungarian, and Peter Gaffney for the company Klasky Supo, who also made Duckman and Rugrats, if you didn't know. And believe it or not, the title Aaahh! Real Monsters took 5 years to select, with the working titles being simply Monsters and also Real Monsters, but obviously they settled on a winner. The show was centred on more adult themes, much like Nickelodeon's other cartoons, but not to the extent of, say, Ren and Stimpy, and certainly not to the extent of The Simpsons. The pilot episode of the show actually won first prize at the Houston and Ottawa film festivals, so it was very promising from the get-go. It even had its own Super Nintendo and Sega Mega Drive game, which was a platformer. I found this platformer to have very unique mechanics, and yet the reviews at the time were very mixed, although special praise was drawn to the game's graphics and music. The show ran for 4 seasons for a total of 52 episodes, and the last time the monsters in the show made any major appearance was in a Rugrats episode called Ghost Story, which aired in 1999, 2 years after Real Monsters finished, and this was the first ever Nicktoons crossover. And after that, unfortunately, the show and its characters sort of died a death. They appeared in a Robot Chicken episode alongside Samara from The Ring, and they would discuss the best ways to scare people. A pretty cool crossover in my opinion. But apart from that, it was just cameo after cameo, mostly in games, with the most recent being Oblina appearing in Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl. Apparently she's quite a popular character too, to my knowledge. And there you go. Unfortunately, there's not as much to say about this show as there are others, but it's a very important part of 90s culture. Certainly something I grew up with, and as I say, I'm sure many of you did too. And it deserves its time in the spotlight. Who knows? Maybe it will come back one day. We can only hope. See you tomorrow.